Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan who's on a journey to know everything about object shows. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup. This is where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, BFPIG finale is today. However, I will be honest, I'm not trusting the release time because I don't really know when it is, so I don't want to rely the episode's existence entirely on will it release before 2 in the morning. So I decided, alright, look, it's okay. I've covered BFPIG perfectly on time in the past. I already did that. Alright, let's just keep it, and then the next episode will cover BFPIG. For this episode, my focal point will be to try to do as much as possible. I'm going to try to complete the keep-ups, okay? I've looked at it. I don't think there's that much to do, and I do think that I can probably get it done in this episode to where we can get to the modern day from episodes from previously covered creators. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to just try to do it, and this time we are just going to go fully chronologically. We're not going to be going by views like I've done before. In the last 2 episodes, we're going to go fully chronologically. We're going to do a classic style, so that way we just go until we get there, alright? So that's the plan. We're going to start off by going to Randomness' channel, because Randomness has released 2 things. And we're going to start off with the shorter one, which is the battle for $5.99, yes, which has received its 4th episode. As a reminder for what happened last time, a bomb exploded, and then what even happened? A bomb exploded. And then you needed to jump into the water, so then a couple of people did that, a lot of them failed, and then everybody else was up for elimination after the eliminated contestant ended up being Trollface. Alright, episode 4 is out of Chiyo, Eat Your Tomatoes. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 4 of Battle for $5.99. So, kind of like the other episodes of Battle for $5.99. This is relatively solid. It does its thing. It's a super easy watch, it's one of those shows where you just watch it. It's a show. You don't really need to think about it much, The things that happen are pretty simple while still having the humor, still being relatively funny, right? And therefore, it's just kind of an enjoyable experience. This is the type of show that I think would do great as a compilation. Those full season videos? I feel like this show would do really well if it had like a full season video, because it's an easy watch, like a full show, 25 minutes or however long a full season episode will last, right? Just like kind of that. I feel like it would go good. It'd be clean, it'd be nice, and it'd be overall relatively fun. So yeah, we have ourselves some interesting things. So Raindrop is selling cats because they found a cat creating machine. Apparently there's like a cat bell, and if you rub a cat on the cat bell, it spawns a cat. Fair enough. So therefore you sell them for $5. It's a lot. It's a lot of cat. But I guess we'll see. We end up having the elimination where, by the way, it's the right kind of character show up, but we also end up having our eliminated contestant be speak machine, which either way, they got eliminated. However, they get taken out in an interesting way, because apparently the show gets split, guys. The show gets split, for real, so true. We end up having the speak end up going over there, to fight, to battle for the power of Virginia. What is that? Yes, battle for the power of Virginia. So they're battling for nothing. But yeah, that will be a great competition. I'm ready to see an episode of it. It's not happening. But yeah, either way, they got eliminated, so it was kind of a way to get them out. And overall, we end up having the challenge, which is survive a flood. There's going to be a big-ass flood in an hour. Find a way to survive. So now the fellas go over to try. Click just ends up going, okay, I can fly above it. Fair enough. Then the mushroom vine sauce fella ends up going, yo, I remember one time they said boats are good to make, so I'm gonna make one. Valid idea. Then the other tactics end up being that Epic Face, who's a smoker, by the way. OMG. We'll try to drink the water. That's a lot of water. In the meantime, Raindrop's like, what? Yeah, you think I need to do anything? Come on, bro. This is a family reunion that's about to happen. Well, they don't say it like that. They're more smug about it. But yeah, it's like a family reunion. We chill. So overall, that is that. Well, of course, our host ends up flying away in a helicopter. One of the things which I do kind of like about it, about this show, is that it's very it does very unapologetically just like use songs that we like. You know, like, I find the music selection to be one of the most interesting things to actually listen for in these episodes, because it's kind of like tracks which from things, memes, or whatever other media, but like you don't usually see in an object show, right? Because they're like unserious. But I think it's significantly better to have it like that, because it makes it an actually relevant part rather than coming in with the Kevin MacLeod, like average track, right? Like we get in some interesting tracks, from the intro being freaking Nightcore Rockefeller Street, is freaking crossing the border as the elimination team, right? The beginning, like, what even was it? What song was at the beginning? Hold on, was it? It was the one by Living Tombstone. What the hell is it called? Ordinary Life? Yeah, like, you see, it's kind of like this interesting music selection. But, so I actually find it rather enjoyable to listen out for. So I like that. Anyways, the flood starts. How's it going? The boat's going pretty good. However, unfortunately, when you have a boat, it apparently, there's a rival boat that shows up with bigger baddies, by many, recommended characters, so we end up sinking the Vine Sauce boat. Rip, very, very, some very intense screaming taking place. In the meantime, presumably Epic Face also drowns, which is fair enough. And then we also end up having, the Smarty, whatever they were called, Hex, ends up flying away in a jetpack, not realizing that, hey, the jetpack needs to get somewhere. You can't just fly indefinitely. So then it explodes, and then they lose. So yeah, Click ended up flying above it, and of course Raindrop just blended in with the water. And also for Elam, who should get out? I mean, probably Epic Face. I don't know. Maybe Hex did fail pretty spectacularly, but smoking is bad. Gamers, don't do it. Alright, chat. Smoking is bad. Don't smoke, kids or adults. Just don't smoke. Okay, it's better. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, guys. But yeah, overall, enjoyable little episode. Time to go to the other series by Randomness, which has had an episode, is titled Object Idiocy. Now, Object Idiocy, we have not seen any episodes of Object Idiocy, so we have to take the full trip past Object Idiocy to be able to find out, which is 8 episodes. We're starting at episode 1, which is titled I'm in the House Like Carpet. This is a remake. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 1. Since it's a remake, there's no voting. However, I do like the alternative voting that gets added on into place. Vote for your favorite smell, which is burger, pig, or guy. I don't know. But yes, Object Idiocy, hosted by this Clouderson. They seem to be like everything is from scratch. I mean, like they could only afford 2 songs, so I guess they couldn't afford a background. We're struggling out here, right? The times are tough. Okay. We end up having ourselves the intro and then the challenge, which is to introduce yourselves. We get, of course, the characters getting introduced. Ball, control, who's fun design. I actually like that one. We got Hat was a cool chair. I do actually like the way that it falls. Then there's Lollipop, who's a lollipop. Then there's Egg Junior. There's also Cookie and Brownie. There's Garrett, Icon. Their host is called Clouderson, and as far as I'm aware, there's also somebody in the background that was like a lemon fella who fucking died, which is interesting. But yeah, we don't know who's up for elimination, so because the voting screen doesn't actually, of course, show who's up for elimination. I would still say that Remake should do it. You know, like, I'm not saying that Remake shouldn't do this gag, but, like, I think that the Remake should, you know, like, kind of have the voting screen how it would usually be, and then eventually you can kind of segue, like, either not having the voting codes, just kind of not having it, just kind of, you know, just having the screen there, because it's kind of useful, just kind of know how it was, right, you know, just in case. But, alright. Episode number 2 is titled Pro Fortnite Gamer Remaster. This is a remake. The other ones are remastered. Those are different things. Let's see if that's true. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 2, so the challenge is to get Fortnite Hatsune Miku, which released that one time early. So then Control happens to know time travel. I guess, I don't know, they must have saved the earlier, so they can reload it. And they managed to do it and get the skin so that Clouderson has it. So they win. Everybody's up for elimination. In the meantime, that the eliminated contestant in this episode was Garrett, Icon, Ripperbrony. And then yeah, overall that is pretty much the episode. It's a Hold on, what is this beginning line? It's a tiny perfect clone. If it's tiny, it's not a perfect clone. Well, okay, that's an intriguing question. If there's a clone that's perfect 100% you, but it's smaller, does that make it still a perfect clone? I mean, like, it depends on the definition of perfect, right? Like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I mean, yeah, it's not technically because, of course, your height is one of the details, so it's not perfect, it didn't match your height. However, if it matches literally everything else, you could say that, you know, it's like a smaller perfect clone, right? It's like, the clone could be perfect, however, it intentionally ends up smaller. I would say. So I think, yeah, you can have a tiny perfect clone, you know? It would be a perfect clone, however, there's an intentional deviation made from it otherwise, which is to make it tiny. So I would say, yes, you can have a tiny perfect clone. Episode 3 is titled Rain on Your Charade. No more remakes and remasters. Here we go. Ooh, we got some reversed music in the voting screen. This is so evil, guys. It's telling the message about the evil. Anyways, we have ourselves the challenge, which is, well, first we have the eliminated contestant Egg Junior. Bye-bye. Next up, we have the challenge, which is to retrieve the bottle cap collection that was stolen by Green Ghost Alien Thing. Oh, no. So we gotta get it back. Lollipop tries asking very nicely, doesn't work. So then Brownie ends up deciding that it's time to step on him because that happens to work because they have like a big boot. So not fair enough. If it works, it works. And they get the bottle caps back. I'm surprised they didn't do a gala. Oh, how dare you! You missed the bottom one of them. Oh, you forgot the 7th one. And then somebody else brought in the single bottle caps. Oh my god, you did it. But no, they didn't do that. So yeah, Brownie's safe, considering they were the one that most endangered the other episode, right? Because they had 2 votes in this one. I would say that we are looking pretty interesting but on that aspect. The hat tried to show off something to Paul there at the beginning. Not exactly sure what it was. It's like a fidget spinner if it only had 2 sides. But yeah, interesting things are happening around here, right? Yeah, who's got now? No idea. Let's say Control. Episode 4 is titled Cookie is Right and Clouderson is Wrong in Object Idiocy. Go. Okay, that is episode 4 of Object Idiocy, and quality increase so much. It's like Clouderson found like $3 extra. $3 extra. You know, we can afford a background, we can afford more songs, we can afford a new intro. This is great. I mean, we can't afford like more trees still. You know, that's still a work in progress, but we're getting there, you know. Budget is arriving. But anyways, yeah, the eliminated contestant ends up being Cookie. Fair enough, I guess. And they end up running away. So the challenge is to get them lemon lollipop. Which, yeah, lemon lollipop. That's a new word dropped by. They end up going over to chase them. They go chase them off studio, which is great. Love that. Love the guys. I do find the detail that this is... He's like a studio, like it's proper, you know, it's show being recorded at a studio. I do like it. It's a thing that we've seen in an object show. I think a camp comic, I can't remember, has it. But like in general, I do still like. I think it's a nice little additional detail. And then after 14 hours, we end up having Cookie eventually run back, and Control just happens to snatch them on accident. Lemon Lollipop is rather upset about this. Damn, personality change much, and Control ends up doing it. Control's a gamer. There's not much to say about it. It's true. It's factually correct. Control is a gamer, and they're gaming. Look at these voting icons. I'm telling you, the quality increase, it's severe. All right, we're reaching the big leagues around here. All right. Which is nice. The fellas up for elimination, lemon lollipop. You get to vote more than once. Apparently, you can vote more than once, which is exactly what we want in object shows. We want rigged votings. We want votings where somebody is gonna spend 30 minutes clicking the same button 30 times. So that way they'll force a result that, you know, the wide majority of people might not want. It's great. It's love that. This is exactly what we need in object shows, you know? We need voting that doesn't make sense. Yes, exactly. As you can tell, I am very against the concept of people voting multiple times. It is very dumb. Anyways, yeah, I'm not going to predict who's getting out because it doesn't matter. It's just whoever votes the most. Episode 5 is titled No Votes Today. Alright, here we go. Okay, that is episode 5 of Object Idiocy. Now, there are apparently no votes. Now, hold on. We actually start off here with like a compilation of, I guess, what's on the television. I guess these are the other shows around the studio, right? We get to see some battle for Obama hamburger. I think did these people like did we animate like the reverse show? Because like Liminal Lab definitely animates the section that's not Obama hamburger, because like the art style is different. Okay, that's interesting. But either way, we end up having the elimination where the votes have apparently, this voting system crashed. Okay? What does that mean? I do not believe you. What? You're telling me that Google Forms crashed? You got that many votes? Was somebody that bored? I don't know. I'm just gonna be 1,000,000% honest. I fully 100% do not believe that it crashed. There's another reason. We made it up, okay? But either way, we end up getting Lemon Lollipop out with 25 votes. You know, just they get out because they get out. Okay. Next up, there isn't a challenge because there's a debut. We end up ordering them on the app, on the contestants app, and after a couple of hours, they officially arrive, and you know they do their debut to saying things. We got $20 Amazon gift card. We've got Boxy, we got Clown Nose, Cola on a Stick, a Hate Comment, a Mango, Ever Dreamed This Walnut, and then a toilet paper tube. A relatively unique set of them. Who would be the best character? Probably Bossy would probably be the best character. However, this is a joke show. You know, this is like a shitposty show. So maybe it should be somebody a bit more direct. So maybe Hate Comment? Maybe Hate Comment should rejoin. No, not rejoin. Maybe Hate Comment should debut. I feel like that would make the most immediate sense. Yeah, we're gonna, I think that options feels the most correct to me. So, yeah, we're gonna go with that. Alrighties, it's time for episode 6, which is titled Debut Cancelled, Garrett Icon Rejoined. Let's see if that's true. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 6 of Object Idiocy. Now, it is officially time for the debut, where 2 people will be joining. Now, that is a surprise. Which one's all of them? Well, one of them is, in fact, Hate Comment, who got the most votes at 7. Yeah, Hate Comment just makes sense, you know. It's obvious what the character is gonna be. So that kind of like extreme character that is gonna make an impact in the sense where it's kind of like, you know, you can definitely tell what the vibe is from very little screen time. You know, those are the best characters for these shows that are like under 3 minute per episode type thing. You know, you want these types of characters that have these like short burst personalities. That way you can just immediately get it right without needing much nuance to it. But then the second person rejoins. It's a tie between the Dream Walnut and Clown Nose for the second spot. And then a wheel gets spun and it just so happens to land on the Clown Nose. Of course it does. It's a way better character. So they proceed to kick them out, and then we have our challenge. The challenge is to name your team. Okay, fine. We can do it. I'll allow it 1 time per show, okay? Once per show I'll allow the challenge, even though every show has it. We end up having the 2 team names. One of them is called Worm Odyssey. This is the team with Clown Nose, Control, and Brownie. And then the other team with Hat, Ball, and Hate Comment is called Fat Man's World. Yep, Worm Odyssey is indeed the better name, and it's also just the better team. I mean, like, it's a way better coordinated team that is. Well, look at that. I mean, like, they actually seem like they get along. The other team is like, it's pretty much the scrapped team, you know? Like, this team is, there's no way. They're gonna lose the next challenge as well. I mean, yeah, I think they're losing the next challenge. I'm gonna be 100% for real. But, it goes the way that it goes. Alright, well, it's time for, wait, is it? No, it's not. Wait a minute. I forgot a thing. Oh, yeah, it's because the post-credit scene. There's a post-credit scene. I know, right? I'm telling you, the budget is increasing. Apparently, they're just chilling over in the couch because, I guess this is where eliminated contestants go. You know, they go to the lounge area of the studio. Why don't they just go home? You know, like, can't they just go home? Is this legal? What, you can just walk out. It's a studio. The other fellas end up getting dropped by. They did get launched. They could really, like, truly 100% have just walked out. I'm gonna be fully honest with you. But, you know, they chose to not do that. And yeah, overall, currently, Control really is giving winner vibes, you know? Like, Control just not losing. Control's just pretty good at this, you know? Like, they're kind of silly, they're kind of good, they kind of got the vibes. I don't know how Control loses right now. I mean, of course, they could just get voted out, but we'll have to see. So far, I'm a believer in the Control theory. Alright, episode 7, which is also the longest episode, and it's also called Random's Favorite Episode. Well, that's time to watch it. Here we go. Okay, well, it's episode 7 of Object Idiocy. It's a Halloween special, and it's also Random's favorite episode, apparently. So, yeah, we start off here at the beginning. It's a little bit of an evil beginning, because until the goofy-ass jump scare, which did not get me, thankfully, because it was too goofy, you see, it's kind of one of those, like, okay, I get it, it's a Halloween episode, but you only get it after, right? It's like, I'm not here checking the date or time of the episode's release, you know? I don't know, this was a Halloween special, I just thought that was a weird moment. But in our Halloween special, we have the elimination where the eliminated contestant ends up being the hat. So, rip. Everybody has their costume. What are their costumes? Okay, let's see. So, Ball is a square. Brownie's costume is like a, there's like one of those, like a donut. No, it's not a donut. It's the other thing. Fuck, I forgot what it's called. It's the other food. That's a food. I think there's a character in Purgatory that is that food, but I don't remember what you're called. Whatever. The clown nose is like a AJR logo. Okay. A control is evil. A cookie is sad. Clouderson has become green. There's not really. Egg Junior has turned into a golden egg. Then we end up having, Egg Junior is a golden egg. The Garrett icon is now just a rock star. I guess they've turned into a different emoji. The hat is like a top hat now. The hate comment is now a love comment. And then the lemon lollipop, I don't know, becomes like a freaking cherry lollipop, I don't know. Well, the challenge is to go trick-or-treating, get the most candy. Whoever gets the most candy will win. Isn't this just the challenge from the last episode of like the Obama hamburger Halloween special from like a few years ago? I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was. Look, I'm not saying we took our friend's challenge and did it again. But I am saying that, actually, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I said. But yeah, overall the teams decided to take some different tactics. Apparently, our ball has found a map of the neighborhood featuring all of the rich houses. That's not a thing, but is this a thing that exists? This is not a thing. I need richness ranking. It's yes, a map, but the richer the house, the more yellow it is, or whatever. That's not. I don't think there's a map like that. But anyways, they proceed to go trick-or-treating. It seems like going to the richest houses doesn't seem to be working out very well, because they don't like the costume. The costume is too poor. But in the meantime, the other fellas, which is Brownie and Control, they're just kind of gaming it out. Trying to go to every house, and it seems to be working. It's actually going very well. It's going very, very well. However, and they're gonna win the challenge easily. However, on the last second, Ball goes to the store and buys up all of the dollar store candy. Now, if we're considering that a dollar store candy might be like, what, 50 cents, they definitely spent like 25 to 50 bucks on that much candy, which is a good chunk of change. So, fair enough, and therefore our team loses. Now, the one thing that I gotta say is that this team is absolutely better than the other one. They're just a stronger team. Sorry, I hit the microphone. It's just a stronger team. The team is better than the other team. They lost this challenge because of the writing conveniency, right? The challenge was literally over, and then we still allowed it. But in general, this team is way stronger than the other team, and I don't know what challenge they would do worse in. But yeah, who's getting out? I don't know. I think the clown, Control and Brownie did majority of the work. I guess Clown Nose gotta go, right? I think Clown Nose has gotta go. I do like this voting screen. This voting screen is cool. I do like it. It's kind of Halloween vibes to it. Type to sacrifice. It's fun. But yeah, alright, that is the Halloween special, and it's time for the last I don't think it's the last episode, but it has final in the name. To the next episode, the most recent episode of the show, which is episode 8, which released 9 days ago. It is titled The Final Idiot. Here we go. Bang. Okay, that is Object Idiocy 8, the last episode of Object Idiocy, because we're doing one of these finales. Yes, we're doing the finale where the host dips the contestants, go like, well, not much we can do about this, and then they proceed to kind of leave. Well, first of all, we do have Clown Nose mysteriously disappearing from the episode. Well, they glitch out of the Matrix. There's not really much to say about it. It's interesting. I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, I do like those types of storylines. However, I mean, this is the last episode, so, like, there isn't one. So what's the reason? Usually, if this is the reason, it's kind of one of those, okay, did we just delete a character from existence? Why was the recommender bad? Sometimes we do that, right? Recommender bad person, so then you just kind of yeet out the character from existence. I've seen that happen. But then, like, or it could just be because it's funny. That would make sense. The eliminated other contestant ends up being Control, whichever way they would go and eliminate anyways, which means that Brownie survived the elimination alongside Ball and Hate Comment. And since the host dips, they officially decide, and they get tied third. None of them actually win. Like, nobody wins the show. This is the tied third place. Fair enough. I mean, there is somebody on the first place pedestal, but we don't get to see who it is, so that who knows. Then we get to what happens after a kind of excellent entity style, and then that is that for the episode. So okay, as with usual, I will, of course, reiterate my classic statement on endings that are like this. Personally, I think that, if a project is not what you want to do, I think that it's better to just leave it than to rush ending. However, at least in this case specifically, I do think that, like, it's acceptable because, at the end of the day, this is a small show, it's a shitposty show, it's a show that's, it's relatively unserious in nature, and, like, I would say that, especially with the studio setting and the way that it's kind of like, quitting it is definitely an option. I would say that this is a finale that roughly fits, like, it's fine. And I would say that it fits with the show, right? But, yeah, so, as usual, it's like, I get it. Like, it's not the most satisfying, but hey, it's, it ended. It makes enough sense for how Object Idiocy tends to go about its business in this case, and therefore, I can't really get too mad at it like, I have done in the past for certain other shows which have done this, thing. Yeah, that is, Object Idiocy. Not much else to say about it. Who do I think would have won, though? Who do we give honorary winner title? I think it's Brownie, right? I mean, like, A Comment is a debutant. Ball is kind of a nothing burger. Yeah, I think Brownie should have won. I am going to crown Brownie as honorary winner. Survived the voting. I would say, Brownie, you are the eternal for second honorary winner of Object Idiocy. Good job. You get a JPEG, okay? You get my words of wisdom. If this show isn't going to crown a winner, I will. Brownie, you win. Alright, there we go. That was my celebration. Okay, Brownie, you deserve it. Alright, that is all. Next thing. Next up, we are taking a jump over to 78 Card Studios because episode 4.5 of a joke show made by 78 Card has released. I'm not sure what exactly it is, but last time we had Mathemophobia's Nightmare, the renewed episode 4, after which X wind up taking the contestants. We end up trying to take them back, and in the meantime, while they're doing that, we end up having to give one of the contestants a prize while we need to have to search. Yeah, we need to save the debuts. We need to save a lot of people, right? No idea what this is, but it's a very short video. It's titled, "Oh no, here we go." Okay, that is episode 4.5 of AJSMB78C. So, we return back to episode 1, where, if you remember, our elimination involves the black hole but a triangle getting eliminated first, which means that they're kind of not involved with any of the shenanigans that are currently going on. So, they're currently kind of locked away in the box of eliminated people, and they're randomly being like, "Oh no, I need to get out of here," after hearing like a headphone fella. So, they need to get out of here. How do they get out of here? They don't seem to know. Fair enough, they're boxed up. Now, I will point out, you are a black hole. Now, I get it, you're a black hole, but a triangle. But that still means that you are a black hole. So, theoretically, couldn't you just demolish everything in your way? Just kind of like suck it up, suck up the elimination area, and then boom, you are free. Just do it, give it an effort. Come on, use your black holeian brain, okay, to good use, and do something. Alright, come on, you can do it, Alright, well, good luck to black hole but a triangle, and yeah, next thing. Next up, it's time to watch the 6th episode of DIBS. Yes, because DIBS is one of the biggest shows which we missed a release for in that break, because episode 6 has released as a reminder for what DIBS is. DIBS is the show where each person makes a different scene. There's no proper script. You just kind of gotta go for it, scene by scene. Last time it was the Christmas episode. The challenge was to save Christmas in whatever way you deem the fit. The host couldn't exactly check. We did it in various ways until eventually we ended up having a vote to eliminate. However, you can vote as many times as possible here, which is interesting. We'll see whose fan base is the most outlined, and we'll find out. We get some people get shot at the end, right? And overall, we'll see what DIBS 6 has in store for us. Sock blew up the mountain. Haha, you get it? Alright, let's go. Okay, that is the 6th episode of DIBS. Sock blew up the mountain. Don't think that's true, but yeah, we have ourselves an episode of DIBS. I think that what my personal opinions on DIBS tends to be is that I kind of noticed like a trend with these DIBS episodes that like it really feels, at least to me, that like the episode nearly definitely always has a kind of upwards trajectory, like it's one of the things that seems to happen with the system in place, where we get to have sort of like the episode starting out, we're not 100% sure what it's gonna be, right? So we end up having a few scenes. The fellas, we take a bit more, like, it's a more memey approach, I would almost feel like that first half nearly always ends up way memeier than the second half. But then as we're entering into the challenge, right, the second half into the thick of it, and the actual status of the teams in the challenge are getting figured out, the episode really does start to pick up steam, because you're starting to get what happened. Each person's adding in their own gas to the story, because there's like a framework, right? It's like you see how when there's the framework of the challenge there, nearly everybody does a scene, does very well, because it ends up proper you know, like developed and there, and then you can just add your spin to them, add progression, and have it fun, and then it's great, right? But that first half sometimes ends up being a little bit less so because there isn't the foundation. So as you're constructing the foundation, you're gonna have a bit of awkward moments here and there between the people, and then it's gonna kind of be weird. So this is something that I noticed here with the DIBS episodes, that I mean, like, it's not fixable. It's not a fixable problem. It's just an interesting way of the format, right, of the DIBS functionality that ends up making this. But despite saying that, I think this first scene is really good. The first scene of the episode, this one here with Strawberry Milky. I like Strawberry Milky quite a lot. It's a fun little character, but eventually they end up asking Frank to join their team after Frank be like, oh, my team is a little bit, you know, a little bit mean. Well, no, they're not mean, they're nice, but like, you know, they don't like each other very much, you know? Like, I'm friends with them, but they're not friends with each other, basically. And eventually they end up joining the girl team, and after that, we end up having Glove go like, I'm done, I don't want to be in this team anymore, I'm sorry, Sock, I'm going. And then Glovey ends up joining to the team of Matchbox, which ends up being Sakura50 is a dangerous team to join. And then the Moon Hyundai Sonata also ends up joining the girl team. In the meantime, we end up having the intro, which ends up, the ring ends up getting answered by David. Because, I mean, Whistle tried sleeping next to it, but then overslept when the alarm. David's intro is, yeah. It's something, alright? It's definitely something. It's fun, it's funny. Then we have ourselves the elimination. Now, one mild, you know, detail is that for the entirety of the elimination, the phone is upright, which isn't correct, right? Isn't the phone supposed to be, because like if it's there, that means that, you know, the phone's not in use, the phone's off, that's how you hang up, right? So when the phone's open, it should be laying down on the ground. I thought we knew this, but no, the phone's up for the entire duration of the elimination. Which is kind of weird. Everybody loses their limbs because that is the prize. Okay. Then we proceed to have Duvid be the character also eliminated by getting the most amount of votes. I guess they spam Duvid the most. They tried to survive by inventing a new identity. It did not work, and together everybody else decides to team up to get rid of Duvid's limbs. That way they can't move and they just kind of have to sit there. In the meantime, Lemon Tea Packet ends up being the only one with limbs on the team because they managed to get it back from Duvid. Challenge, get to the top of the mount. So we end up having a challenge. It's a relatively simple challenge. How will they proceed to do it? Well, the sort of complicated team ends up, the CDK's team ends up going over to climb the trail. So they proceed to do that. In the meantime, we end up having Duvid's Doodad's team, sorry, ends up being like, yo, we got Stopwatch on our team, let's, like, do that, you know, Stopwatch super fast, and Stopwatch is, okay, I can carry you, but one at a time, and then end up going, okay, fine, I mean, it's our best bet, so, you know, they proceed to do that, one person at a time. In the meantime, we end up having a secret tattoo the Glove has. Apparently, if they flip upside down, they can they got like epic legs and hands. You know, it's a super tactic. It's actually kind of great. Not really forgot toss it way better. Oh no. Then, in the meantime, we end up having some fellas debate Frank's appearance into the team, the girl power team. However, they just decide to go into the Moon Hyundai Sonata team to go, the Moon Hyundai Sonata team, no, to go inside the Moon Hyundai Sonata to drive up. I really like the gag of the Princess Violet being like, should you drive? And then they look around the team and seeing everybody else being an absolute waste of a person, and then they're like, okay, fine. You can drive, I guess. I guess you are the best driver. I like Princess Violet a lot. I think that Princess Violet, you know, is one of those characters where, like, it's just kind of a personal preference to me is I do really like characters that act as kind of chill and logic in the middle of an otherwise chaotic system, right? It's the reason why I like one of my favorite AI character, for example, is Candle, you know, because Candle acts like that. It's just that character that's like it's the logic and calm mostly in an overall chaotic set of characters, right? So I think that having a character like this is it's a very welcome addition. I do and I like her a lot for it, especially in this where like again it's pure chaos, but like in the end of it, we kind of have like a normal character in the middle, and it's very fun. With the whole, you know, detail with the backstory and being royal, so not really knowing much. You know, it's kind of interesting. Actually, I like it a lot. But yeah, Charade Milky drives. Then we have technical difficulties. Yes, technical difficulties, and the epic trio of who are these three? Hold on. One zombie turtle, the second's pixie paws, and I don't know who the third one is. I'm sorry. Who is Box? Does it say your name? I might say your name. I don't know. I'm sorry, but look, you did good. Anyways, I 100% do not believe that this was a technical problem. This is lies. There's no way. This is on purpose, guys. We have a rough explanation of the next set of events, which is, alright, we have, you know, some teams end up, yeah, the laptop wants to eliminate Doodad by intentionally losing, I think. They don't do that. Then we end up having Teamwear is going up on a shopping cart with lemon tea packet. Fair enough. That seems like a good tactic. Then we end up also having, no, that's about it. Okay, yeah. Then we got a new high score in Pac-Man. Good job. Good job on the high score in the Google Pac-Man. You know, it's great. It's great stuff. Then we end up having a CD case yet again. The side. Hello, Scorpio Lolly. Would you like to do the thing again? Well, but it proceeds to activate, and as they activate, they decide that CD case needs to get attacked. Then having Kit Kat give a very vague attempt at fighting back is actually pretty abysmal. But this attack gets stopped short by the the stopwatch arriving there. We end up having CD case actually utilize opening up to pull off an attack. Apparently there's Finding Jesus 2 CD in there. In a way, that's one of the things which I kind of hope is 100% not consistent. I hope that it's one of those gags where it's kind of like, I like consistency, but there's certain gags which I think would be really funny if it just wasn't consistent. It's like every time CDK's open, it's just a different movie. It's just a different movie. But like, yeah, overall, it's intriguing. We got a cool battle, and then eventually, as they're gonna do that, they eventually get launched off by the shopping cart from Lemon Tea Packet as they're going off there. They end up being there. Then Scorpio Lines are getting back, and then CDK ends up being like, "You need to understand me. We go do challenge." And then we talk later, because CD Case has not discovered the act of talking while walking. What do you mean? It's a hike. You need to take the hike in silence. You walk up the mountain and talk about what the hell happened. Yes, correct. Don't stand there and just talk, but like go walk. And then, you know, while you're taking the trip up, you can be like, so what happened? You know? Like, you can do both of those activities. Come on, CDK, I don't know. CDK is an interesting leader. But I do like it. It's one of those it's very bold personality. He seems to be one of the more, like, clear personalities in the sense where it's like, you know, it seems like everybody roughly has an outline of what it is to do with the character, right? Which is kind of one of those things, you know, which characters do we have an outline for? Majority of them, I would say, we do have a relative, like, understanding of at this point for sure, you know, as we're heading into the kind of DIBS middle game. a little bit more. I mean, not really middle game, but you know, as kind of we're exiting on the middle. 1 darn second later, if I'm not mistaken, the challenge wasn't there. There was a message at the end to find the something. What were you supposed to find? It said it somewhere. I don't know where. Find the hidden pig in the episode. I mean, in that 1 darn second, there's like a cow, but it's not pig. So, you know, I guess I didn't find a hidden pig. But I thought that's what that was, because the 1 darn second, like flip flop, and it was and like also 1 darn second is pretty long. A darn second is a long time apparently. But yeah, eventually we toss it ways better there. We end up utilizing the glove to gamer again. Well, I like that. It's funny. Hold on. That pig, there's a pig as a recommended character. I mean, I don't know if that's I don't know if that's the hidden pig, but that is a pig in the recommended character. That's 100% a pig. So, I mean, like, I'll say, is that Rouse Delta? Okay, let's keep it moving. Eventually, everybody is safe. Except for the last 2 teams, which is the team on the Moon Hyundai Sonata, and then the other team, and then of course Scorpio Lolly team. However, the team on the Moon Hyundai Sonata, the girl power team, ends up losing because they drove up the wrong mountain. There was a mountain that led to a cat cafe. I mean, at least they get to, you know, chill at the cat cafe, but yeah, they end up being up for elimination. Now, you have to eliminate a duo. It's a double elim where you have to choose the batch of characters that end up getting eliminated. Oof. And this is not a kind selection. Cause this is an evil selection. Cause you've got kind of like each one has like a character that I like and a character I don't really care about. It's like there's Frank and A, Violet second, and Strawberry. It's like the second character is always the one which I care about more, and then there's like Lips, Blue Sock, and Silver Sonata, which I don't really mind. They don't really care that much about any of them. So that is damn. Okay, I will say that I said Prince of Violet might be one of my favorite characters. And then Strawberry Milk is also really good. So by that process, despite the fact that I think out of the list of these characters, I think that if I were to eliminate one individually, I would eliminate Blue Sock, because I think Blue Sock just not that much actually going on with this character. You know, like it's one of the characters with the least amount of things happening. You know, it seems like we have way more ideas for Glove than we ever had for Sock. So like in general, I'm just kind of not seeing it. Also, were you always blue? I feel like this is a new addition. I feel like you were not blue before. But, anyways, then, but, like, Strawberry Milk is too good. You gotta keep it. Prince of Violet, gotta keep it. So I would personally eliminate Silver Hyundai Sonata and Frank, just out of that process of elimination, even though they are pretty cool characters. However, I will have to admit, even though I personally like Prince of Violet, I don't think the average voter would care. So I personally am bracing for impact, and I do unfortunately have to predict that Blue Sock and Prince of Violet are gonna go. I think it seems more correct, even though I would vote Silver Hyundai Frank. My prediction is on Blue Sock and Prince of Violet. But yeah, but despite the fact that I just said that I'd vote out Hyundai Sonata, I do actually really like the interesting detail that, like, it seems like the Hyundai Sonata can control the radio, so it's like they got some semblance of entertainment, like they choose the radio, you know? So we end up having, so it's kind of intriguing, you know? They kind of get like their entertainment on the way, which is fun. I enjoy that a lot. I enjoy that little characterization detail actually quite a lot. So that's fun. And then we end up having the Duvid, which ends up last second getting encountered by Reddit. What are you doing here? Why are you here, man? Okay, alright. What? So, Alright, just remember, Battle for Niche Internet Fame is not a show that has made it to the catch-up because it's not had an episode. I do know about Battle for Niche Internet Fame, and I did intentionally learn I'm Sorry You're Inferior for the song challenge. So, like, in general, I do know this person. But, like, that is interesting. We end up taking Duvid, Reddit for some reason, like, yo, you should join. And then they take it over to Duvid to go about it. Now, I guess I have to be awaiting the cameo. The Duvid cameo in Battle for Niche Internet Fame will be legendary, whatever it is. But either way, we then have Whistle. Poor Whistle, man. Whistle, alright, chat, gamers, DIBS gamers. Whistle is never having a good life. Whistle has been fucked over 6 episodes in a row. Can we have the Whistle episode? I feel like it's deserved, right? We need like the Whistle episode where everybody agrees. Yo, let's just make Whistle be goated, okay, and have everything go their way. We're like, poor G. They're about to send the invite, and then they're just gone. They just disappear from Earth. Like, come on. But yeah, that is the 6th episode of DIBS. It was a strong episode, I would say. It was definitely a strong episode. It gives some nice level of characterization to some characters. Didn't have that much to them yet, like Silver Shield Sonata, like some of the others, and then we also had some nice gags, some very fun gags, and yeah, I was pretty solid. However, of course, I would say that DIBS episodes definitely end up being a little bit like, okay, the less it tries to advance the main plot arcs, the better the episodes tend to on average be, because advancing the plot arc is kind of dangerous and ends up being a little bit messy. However, it has to advance the plot arcs, otherwise the show will turn stale. So, it kind of has to give itself a balance. So, let's see how it's going to achieve the balance in the next few episodes. Alright, next thing. Next up, we have ourselves the 13th episode of GGGI, or Guacamole's Giant Game Show Indeed, which released about a week ago. It's a relatively quick episode. As a reminder, last time we had a relatively renovated look to the series that we ended up getting. We ended up having ourselves the eliminated contestant, I think, be Lilypad, and then we ended up having ourselves the team name, the naming challenge where the word name gets out, and then I don't even really remember what team lost, but yeah, we'll see who gets out in due time in episode 13, Death Wish. Okay, that is episode 13 of Giant Guacamole Game Show Indeed, and indeed we had ourselves an elimination where the eliminated contestant, well, everybody else got inverted, so officially that team becomes the inverted team in my brain. And in the meantime, Pan and Yoki, Frying Pan and Yoki, and they're getting eliminated with a lot of votes. Fair enough. Yeah, fair. I mean, they're a cool character design, but yep, they don't do anything. The character that gets eliminated is always a character that won't really do much of anything. So, this is not too surprising. The intro, I don't remember, but I think that this intro has a rework, right? I mean, like, the intro moves the same, but I think, in episode 12, when, of course, all these assets got remade, I don't think the intro was updated, but I think it is here with all of the, re-assets. So, that's cool. I don't know, it just feels a bit more dynamic than, how it did. So, maybe I'm wrong, but I do think that is correct. But yeah, eventually Guacamole ends up finding Algebroly. That's like an Algebralian version of Guacamole. The challenge is to kill whoever that is, and then the popsicle ends up telling them no, and then apparently this is a one-trick pony way to destroy every Algebralian in a 10-mile radius. You just look at them and you go like, because you know what they say, disappointment is the biggest attack that you can have. Nobody says they choose the team that said something about Israel last time. I do remember that being a statement. I don't remember them doing it, but then they proceed to go like, oh, you're choosing us just to choose us. I know you are. I mean, like, yes, that's the point. Why you want them to choose them? Not because they choose. What's the? I don't know. But yeah, we get another set of the epic voting icons. The voting icons for this show are actually rather sick. I really like it. Dude, look at the gold voting icons. It's like every element. Like it's just, who would I eliminate? Probably Desert Sand. Who the hell is Desert Sand? I don't know. This is not a character I remember existing. Yeah, I don't know. I say we eliminate Desert Sand. We get everybody's recommended here in the credits, and that is episode 13. I would say that it's fine. You know, it's doing the classic thing. I wonder what the speed of episodes releasing for the show are gonna be in the future. We'll find out. But for now, that is all. Next episode. Next thing. Sorry. Next segment. Next up, we are going over to Spoony Toon's channel because we are taking a trip over to a new show which started. It seems to be a weekly series. It is titled Watch It Weekly. Fair enough. Episode 1 has done quite well for itself. You know, it's actually fetched itself 1,000 views in its time span. So we're gonna watch it. We're gonna see what it's about. It's only 2 minutes long. This episode is titled Ground Level. Here we go. Alright, well, but we have ourselves a show setting where Spoony is having a good day on the ground until a set of people arrive and be like, yo, could you host a show, please? And they go, fine, I'll do that. The prize is a bag. For some reason, they thought he had money. No, Spoony does not have money. So instead, they still join anyways because there's really not much for them to do. And then we have ourselves the challenge. So you'll be in a duo challenge. Don't get your teammate to touch the ground. You'll be keeping them in the air. So they end up, doing that. Doing that to various degrees. I like how the popcorn kernel can just hang out in like the holes of the waffle. So you don't even need to really hold on to it. But then eventually the fellas that lose the challenge are Visando as well as I think you're called Mallet, but eventually it gets knocked off by the pair whose team member just happens to be small enough that they can just hold on to them, meaning that we get to properly push them off. And after the disagreement, we end up having the eliminated character be Mallet after the disagreement. You know, I thought that the characters were supposed to agree on who gets out, but obviously they're never going to do that, right? But they get out. I mean, I feel like this is the wrong elimination, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, like, it was Sando, like, it was not Mallet's job to stay in the air. It was Sando's job as the movement, fella, to control the situation, to not let Mallet touch the ground, right? So I think that when the Mallet falls to the ground, they couldn't have fought, but they can't move. They need Sando to run away or to fight or to do anything, right? They can't just be a passive observer to your duo's failure. So I disagree with this elimination. I absolutely think that Sando had to go because, they were not proactive. Yeah, they were the one with the movement. The fella couldn't move because they were getting held on. So, why didn't you try to stop me? Because they can't. Right? So it's not good. It was not a good move. But that way they get eliminated, and that is episode 1. Overall, it's a relatively alright episode, to be honest. Now, of course, you gotta remember one of the important details about BFPIG that this show needs to keep itself massively in mind is that BFPIG is pre-prepared. Remember, BFPIG is pre-prepared. This is I don't think it is, but making a show weekly is a much different story than making a full show and then releasing it weekly. So you just gotta kind of keep that in mind, But hey, I hope for the best, and let's hope that I get to watch it weekly. All right, next thing. Alright, next up we are going to go over to Liamation's channel because we are going to watch none other than episode 1 of season 2 of Was, or Wow, Another Show. Has had its season 2 known to exist ever since the end of season 1 6 months ago, where the characters were put up for original voting for who should be in the season 2, where you got to pick a certain an amount from a section, an amount from another section, and an amount from the fellas who never debuted. And overall, you know, it's interesting to see. The episode is very long, sitting at 20 minutes, which of course is rather intriguing, as I believe that is longer than every episode of season 1. Yeah, it's longer than any episode of season 1, because the longest was season 1, 60 minutes. So to see, was season 2 starting off with the big times? It's titled Don't Make Me Regret This. Here we go. Okay, so that is episode 1 of season 2 of Was. Now, that is a very nice little episode. I'm gonna be honest, that is quite a fun episode, and I think it showcases a lot of, like, you know, that potential that Was definitely had. Because the thing about Was, right, is that Was definitely had the potential to it. You could see it, you could feel it, right? It was just kind of bogged down by certain decisions which in general sort of weakened the product, right? Whether it was, you know, like, in general, you know, breaking up the pacing so much by musical numbers in certain episodes, right? Even to the point of doing the same song in 2 different episodes. Like, you don't need to do that. You don't need an encore, please. But, like, in general, like, and also, you know, in general, like, growing into the position, which means that, like, you know, we were developing the show as it went along, which means that the animation wasn't quite there, the writing was getting, you know, here and there, we were starting to figure out plot points, but, like, now, this feels like a very nice way to properly encapsulate how you could have Was play out in its way, right? Which is this charming, fun show that's, again, animated relatively well, with a lot of guys. Like, it's, at the end of the day, it's a very comedy show. You know, like, in terms of object shows, I would say that this one especially definitely leans more into the comedy angle, you know? Like, there's never going to be too long without a direct joke. It's supposed to be comedy. And it definitely, I think, works for me, alright? To be honest, it is my style. It's my style of humor. It's my style of jokes. I find it funny. Which, of course, you have to factor into my general opinion of it, which means that, like, this is kind of just what I generally gravitate towards in terms of humor. So I personally did find the episode quite funny. I do like these type of, like, timing gags and, like, the characters kind of just being goofy. And in general, it is for me. However, of course, it depends on the other person. And it's rather nice, and I think that it's a cool thing. It is absolutely a cool thing, especially when compared to, you know, Vile Tiles, where you could see a lot of this kind of potential there, right? I mean, like, Vile Tiles, as I say, execute on it relatively well, but, like, you know, I would say that, like, looking at Vile Tiles, you can tell that it can transfer over to Was, and in fact it does. But let's actually talk about what's going on in the episode. So we start off here with the funeral of Ball Senior, like the image on the right, just straight up from the wiki. But we end up having Ball Jr. be sad, and then yet again, Ball, the hit character that's just unashamedly just a jerk all the time, ends up continuing to be relatively mad after the 10, which we're calling him 10. I mean, I feel like, should we call him that? I mean, you're not 10 anymore, you know? There was a chain, like zero's like, you know, no more, but like, alright. Ball Jr. ends up saying some words, then Ball ends up saying some words and being mad. And in general, you know, Ball continues being Ball, alright? There's no lot to it. Ball continues being classic Ball, which is just unashamedly a jerk. Definitely a contender for one of the just generally least, kind of likable least likable in terms of action, you know, like thinking they're a good person, characters that's possibly there, right, to exist. But like, you see, here's the difference, is that in a regular object show, a character like Ball would be hated. Nobody would like it, right? Because it's just kind of mean. However, in a comedy show, your character like Ball ends up getting relatively positive association with them because they make a lot of jokes, right? Because of their jerk attitude. They make jokes at the expense of people, but like, because of the comedy nature of the show, that's actually rather good. So it makes her a solid character, right? A character like Ball only really works in the vibe that this show emits. If you place Ball in another show, it doesn't work, you know? Like, you can try it, but it really wouldn't, you know? It would like kind of break how it works, and it generally just make an unlikable character. But here you make a funny character because they are just so, unashamedly hateful. Then the contestants are in general having their little chatter while we end up calling everybody over to get to the bleachers, because we are soon about to announce the results. We end up having some meetups, like Mac are all meeting up with a fire, which ends up apparently going to the southern hemisphere, I guess, which is where the Stickies live. So I guess we discovered that Sticky. Is this new information? I don't know, but either way, in the other side of the world, apparently is where Stickmen are. Okay, so objects this side, Stickmen the other side. That means that pixelated Stickman somehow here. But yeah, they will remember this. Then we end up having some interesting things. Top Hat listens to heavy metal. That's new information. You know, we gotta kind of keep these tiny tidbits of information. They might be useful. You never know. 100 years, 10 minutes, and then we eventually end up having Flipperclip not showing up. Ball has Flipperclip's numbers though, which is pretty useful. So we end up calling it over, and Elixir goes like, "Hello, can you show up?" And it's like, okay, sure, because, you know, Flipperclip has teleportation. We end up having a new host, TV. Add that to the list of TVs that are co-hosts and are cool. Yes. All right. Then we end up having the people who joined the season. Alright, let me try to. Is there like a full cast image that I can get to? Hold on, I need to find out. The 5 people. Wait, I'm trying to find out. Okay, so there's the cast of 18. So, in order of left to right in this image, 20, one of the 5 new characters that gets added. Acts as a relative type of, like, I know I am smarter than all of you type character. However, not necessarily, however, in the kind of nonchalant way where they're just kind of constantly annoyed at everybody else for being dumb, which means that they're going to be interesting. I don't think they'll talk. Are they related to 10? Who really knows? Probably not, but we'll have to see, because that's not an interaction that has happened. Obviously, that's an interaction that should happen. But, yeah, it's interesting. Does that make a solid addition to the cast? I do think that makes a pretty solid addition to the cast. we end up kind of having, we end up having like, sassiness to it, so, which is something that's a bit lacking, so, alright, sure. Basically, the segment's back, very obvious, out of the first batch of eliminated contestants. It just makes sense, it's a cool character, got a lot of screen time in those later Wars episodes and deserves another chance. Time Bomb, cool character, kind of just fun vibes, I like him, I think it's cool, I think it's fun. Then got the Gasoline, so, a big side of the segment does not like this one. Do I know why? Do I remember why? Not really. There's like one shot. Hold on. What is the flashback? There's a what is that like because it's the last episode it was, isn't it? Hold on. I don't remember what happens here. I'm going to be 100% honest. Why are these two on bad reps? Got chat. I am not a rememberer. But I guess we know. Look, all right. It's gonna be honest. I don't have time to look into it right now. It's gonna take me too long. But look, I don't remember right why these two are on bad reps, but they're on bad reps. I don't know if it was because the finale was right because Gasoline was into it. Was Gasoline in the? No, Gasoline just made ads. Wait, but what is that? Hold on. I don't fucking know, okay? Macaron's back. Macaron's back, out of the second half. Yeah, they only survived one elimination, and they're just kind of fun vibes. However, considering the lack of a lot of the other characters that are just kind of fun, if from that set, which didn't make it back, I would say that the Macaron ends up making a nice one. Belle acts as a half assistant and is also here back from the first half. We have an interesting ribbon here to distinguish them from just a regular Belle asset, or, to try to make them non-lazy. I mean, if we want to change it, well, I guess we could have just drawn a new Belle asset, but like, fair enough. The BFP Belle is a pretty good asset, right? But yeah, then we have ourselves a fish stick, blue fish stick fella, which is kind of like a rich guy. I think. I love the guy that in the team forming of YouTube going over to the HQ and asking them over and then doing it again. You see, I like gags that are also like repeating the same thing twice. Like that might have been my favorite guy in the episode. Going there, hello, I'm gonna console my boss. Takes a gigantic side tour over there and then does it again for the next person. Yes. 10 is back. Or just number one. Yeah. Not much to it. Then there's Ball's back. We'll be trying their best to not get eliminated immediately. It'll be very interesting seeing a vote to save how well Ball actually does. We'll have to kind of see in due time because the vote to save is the system this time around. Then there's 3 Ball. How do you make it? You are not interesting. I mean, okay, well, you're not interesting at a glance. Like, okay, they're giving the thing where they're kind of speedy, they're like fast and stuff. Okay, like it's not necessarily that the character is not interesting, but like in a voting perspective, this is not an interesting character. How did you make it in? Who knows? But all right then. That is interesting. We'll have to see. Then there's the new character Ghosty, which seems to be like a ghost. I will admit that does look a lot like a speech bubble, but at the end of flying around, they seem to not really have many friends. Pixelated Stickman says that they want to be Misunderstood, so there's a friendship going on there. Then YouTube logo's back. Not who I really wanted to, because of course YouTube logo arrives with a handy dandy audio. Audio only on the right ear. Not quite a big fan. It's a bit more bearable than it was in actual was, because it's like 75% to the right and not fully. But like, it's not a big fan. Then there's Buddha laughing. Yeah, not a good character really to have, but like it's kind of like it's an early boot type character at the end of the day. Even if they can grow arms, this doesn't really matter. It kind of there, but considering out of the new people, they're one of the few that got consistent screen time. They were going to join, right? Then one of the new characters, well, actually 3 of the new characters, they have the button that destroys the world, doesn't speak, but is extremely powerful, so you need to kind of try to see what they can do or can't do. You probably can't push them on too much. It's kind of one of those characters where the teammates just kind of have to kind of look around them, and it's like, are they gonna do a thing? I don't know. Egghead, smart person, which, you know what? Just like Ball correctly points this out, you know what? The nerd gimmick is a thing in many objects, just however, with this cast of people, you need somebody like... you need... with this cast of people, you know what? Some brain... Even if it's ego brain, you're gonna need it. So fair enough. That is a valid addition. And then there's No Block. We don't get to see much about No Block. No Block. Yeah, there's like nothing about No Block here. They seem relatively happy. You know, they do. They're the only one that has a colon 3 as their face, so I mean, I guess that's interesting. And then there's Top Hat, that's just like a fangirl, so okay, fair enough. And then there's also the 18th maybe contestant, which is Bubblegum Drop, which has managed to sneak by and make it into the competition area, despite the fact that they are not supposed to be there. I'm not sure why they're not allowed to join. I mean, what, you wanted 18 contestants? No, I feel like that was a pretty good idea. But yeah, I feel like I actually do really like the idea of the bubblegum drop. However, I'm not sure if I really like the way that's going about it, because yeah, I do kind of like the joke of them constantly say that they're here and then Flip-A-Clip going like no, but like under every single possible circumstance, Flip-A-Clip would just TP them away, right? Like there's not a real chance that they're actually staying here, you know? Like they're staying. Like I need to do a massive suspension of disbelief to see that Flip-A-Clip is somehow letting Bubblegum Drop stay here. Like no, you would teleport them away. They won't just say leave. No, they would just force them to leave. All right. Like I much prefer this type of situation when it's kind of like stealth, you know, like the fact that the Bubblegum Drop was just kind of on a team by their own volition. You know, I would really like if Bubblegum Drop had some, like, I would enjoy it if a team actually wanted Bubblegum Drop in their team as well. I think that would be more interesting, right? Like having a team properly go out of Bubblegum Drop. It's like, hello, we're gonna try to keep you around, all right? We're gonna, you know, like a proper workaround, because Bubblegum Drop's kind of soloing it, just being on a team and to the side, and I don't know. I feel like a team should try to welcome Bubblegum Drop in, and then that becomes way more interesting. Than how it otherwise was. But yeah, of course they do their team forming, as we said. What are our teams? Let's see. There's a lot of course, it's an episode 1, all right? There's a lot of the exposition that you got to do. So, we have a team, the Ballers 2.0, yet again renamed by Ball. This is Ball, 10, Bell, Egghead, and Top Hat. This team is obviously a mess because Ball is a mess. There is never anything in this team that will go just regularly correctly because there is just a constant contradiction, right? So, you know, like in a way, it's in Ball's best interest as a character to directly counteract every point that gets ever made, which means that there will never be anything agreed upon in this team. So this team is in a very bad situation, to be honest. And you know, the fellas that are not too bothered, like Bell or Egghead, will just kind of have to walk around them, because one is going to constantly clash with Ball and Top is going to constantly be with one. So that means that those other two need to sort it out on their own, and they're not going to, so this team is struggling. Then the Christmas Crusaders, Time Bomb, YouTube, Fish Sticks, and Bluefish, and then also the button that makes everything. Yeah, again, a team that's roughly reliant on the button, to be honest. You know, we know that they're extremely powerful, we know that they're probably going to be really interesting. However, I do not believe that this team is a wash either, even though the button acts as a massive wild card. I do believe that Time Bomb and YouTube can probably get along. Basic and Act was probably a relatively decent leader, because they don't seem like that insane with their opinions. So I do believe that this team, of course, they're safe immediately here, but I do see this team as being relatively strong moving forward. So I do actually personally prefer it quite a bit. So yeah, I think it's solid. Then we have Team the Silly Billy. So this is 20, 3 red, 3 ball, Buddha Laughing, and Macaron. This team is not amazing. Yeah. This team is the Power of Friendship Express team, however, with no physical ability at all. Like, nobody here can do anything. You know, like, I guess they can go, 3-ball can go fast, I guess, right? But like 3-ball, with a laughing macron, we'll just kind of try to vibe it out with friends, and then 20 will kind of have to get them in line, right? Which, so basically, I do think that this team has chances. It has to be on a challenge that's non-physical though, right? Like the challenge this is 100% physical, so they're just screwed. But if it's any type of tactical challenge or like, you know, a creative challenge, I think that this team's pretty solid because those three will kind of hype each other up and get stuff done. However, they're going to get distracted. However, there's 20 there to kind of keep them in line. So I do think that this team is relatively well cool. It can be awkward in a creative challenge. They're just massively hindered any type of physical challenge. So it just depends on what challenge we have. And then the last team ends up being called Team Gushers for some reason. This ends up being the gasoline tank, no block, pixelated stickman, and then also Ghosty. This is a who knows. There's a who knows team currently. This is a mystery team. We don't know much about Note Block. We don't know much about Ghosty. I personally don't know why Gasoline and Pixelated Stickman don't like each other. This is just not out of. I don't remember much. Just straight up. I think a thing might have happened. I don't remember it. So, yeah, this is just kind of I don't really know team. I kind of got to see them because the character that we've not really seen much of. But, Pixelated Stickman is a strong contender. So, they could be able to help out. Of course, they kind of carry the team on this situation. Bubblegum Drop doesn't actually get to help out any of the teams, which is unfortunate, because that's kind of the thing that, I don't know, like, I really like that idea. I really like the concept of this ball and draw, but it's like, they want to join, but they're not in the competition, you know, like, it's like, okay, sure, you're in there, you've decided to go to a team, sure, let's do that, but, like, now, help out your team, I guess, you know, like, if you're actually going to be a nuisance to the competition, be constantly there, go, be there, help out your team that you've chosen. You know, like this is the idea. And then we have ourselves the intro, which is pretty much the same as the last intro. It's fine. I mean, like, you know, it could have used like a bit of a refresh. You know, I feel like the intro could have used a bit more of a refresh. I feel like it's nearly exactly the same, but with the new characters. But yeah, Dark Elixir is confirmed to co-host, and then we end up having the challenge, which is to push the blocks. Overall, they proceed to do that to various degrees. The button immediately gets it done, and then one team else is safe. After a close call between the Gushers and the Pixel and the Bowlers, we end up having Pixelated Stickman eventually, based on pure power willingness, lock in and manage to throw it. I'm surprised that throw didn't overshoot, but look, alright, a bit of convenience is always fine. And that means that the Ballers and the Silly Billies are up for elimination. However, it's not a double elimination. It's actually a single elimination where we end up having one you vote to save on both teams, and one of these votes will leave out of both of the teams. Only one person gets out. So I think this is a good idea. No. We'll be honest. No, not really. I actually don't think it's a great idea because I, like, even BFDI tried this for a little bit and then scrapped it because, like, you know, a lot of the time what you do is you batch up teams in a way where, in general, they relatively match each other. So, for example, that team with the Ballers, you know, that's a trio that's there before, and that's some iconic characters, right? In the meantime, the other team has 3 characters which have never appeared before, which means that, like, in general, in a vote to save system, meshing with teams creates a bit of an unbalance because the teams are directly formed at a bit of an imbalance so that they can match each other, right? the popular characters tend to batch themselves together, the original ones, and the new characters also tend to roughly batch themselves alongside each other, which sort of creates that system, right? So I don't think it's great, because that means that one team will have significantly more votes when you only have one to choose from than the other team. And then also, as an additional point against it, is that this also means that the eventual person who gets out is it's just gonna be a less decisive vote, because there's just you're splitting the vote 4 additional ways that it could be, right? Like, instead of it being voting between 5 people, voting between 4 people, no, you're voting between 9, which is a lot. Of people, especially if you consider that, there weren't that, I don't know how many votes this is gonna get, because this episode has done quite well on YouTube, but in general, historically, right, it said that for the contestant vote, it was 55 voters, so 55 votes, I will be honest, not that I think that's not that many votes. I just think that with that amount of votes, you should probably still want to, minimize selection. That way the person gets out is a bit decisive, right? Because I know there's always a little bit of a discussion about, hey, look, the votes that are close are cool. And, yeah, but forcing it to happen by just having a million options isn't great, right? On average, you want to make the voters vote and then have a decisive elimination, on average. Even, close eliminations, if they happen naturally, that's cool, but I don't think splitting the vote so many ways that it'll just end up having the eliminated contestant be out by 2 votes is going to be too much of a fuss, right? So, personally, I would just have one team be up for Elam. That's basically what I'm getting at. And those are the reasons why I am not a big fan of this system. But, yeah. By the way, there's a mysterious ass post-credit scene. I wish it was safe for you out there, and then noises are happening. No idea. Don't know. I could not give you a single clue about what the hell that is. No idea. 0. The only thing that I can think of is Dice, but Dice died, but then, is it going to be the Missy? Dice is I don't know. That is not anything. That is not anything right now. I will have to wait. I never know that is was. I've thought about this for way longer than I should, but, it's a nice episode. I really do enjoy, how liamation writing ends up going. I think that the gags on it are nice. I think the pacing on it is nice. And one of the things I didn't say, which is actually nice about the Cute Pussy Challenge, is that, out of these kind of, shows with 1 or 2 animators, this is one of the few which I can actually pull off a challenge like that, which is a lot of dynamic movement and things going on at the same time, because of just this sort of proficiency with being able to make movement like this, right? Which is one of the biggest strong points of one of the biggest strong point of Artstyles. Just this pure capability of actually getting a lot of movement down in a lot of unique ways, right? Unlike a lot of shows, they really do feel like, they can do anything in the sense of animation, they can make anything happen. They're not limited by movement, which I think is really nice. So, a strong animation, the writing is there, and it's nice to see, from back when I watched and it was kind of weird, it's nice to see it, pick itself up in the sense of, truly try to achieve its potential, back from which, you could see glimmers of it, but in general, it was kind of all down. But, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'll be curious if Was gets musical numbers. Will Was Season 2 get musical numbers? We'll be honest, I have to be kind and say that the musical numbers in Was Season 1 were maybe not the most high quality ones that I have ever seen. So maybe I would say that that there would need to be a quality bump for us to get a musical number here in season 2. But in general, yeah, that is what season 2. Very enjoyable. I like it. I like this. I like volatiles. I like liamation shows. They're just kind of for me. Next thing. Alright, next up we are going over to miglele's channel because episode 1 of a new object show has released from them. A very well performing episode 1 actually. Artistic Showdown. Yes, I don't know what it is, but it's an episode that's 2 minutes long. It's got 2,500 views in 5 days. It's very impressive. Good job. But yeah, we're gonna just watch it. It's titled Artstyles Collide. I can maybe guess what's going on. I don't know. We're gonna have to see in due time. I know nothing about this. I have not researched anything about this. We're just gonna watch it and we're gonna talk about it. Here we go. Alright, that is episode 1 of Artistic Showdown, and that's just a genius idea for a show, isn't it? That's really smart. So, we have ourselves a show where every character is a different style. There's a very useful list here in the credits for what it is. For what each character's style is. So, we've got Rusty Coinage is from VR Object Show. Okay, first of all, I will just say this in a sense where I know I have been asked to watch VR Object Show, and of course, if I were to watch it, it would have already showed up in one of these keep-ups. However, I have said in a comment one time, and I'm just going to say this right now in a video, I currently don't really think I can watch VR Object Show. Like, the thing is, I'll be honest, I did give it a go. However, I was looking at it, and I was like, yeah, there's kind of not much to say, right? Because a lot of, the notes that I say are like, yo, how's the writing? How are the events, the plot points, right? The animation. But it's like VR Object Show directly takes place IRL in a way, where like the characters are doing things in real time and they're saying things in real time. There's a lot of talking over each other, which means that in general, there's really not much that I can comment on. So, in general, I've said no, not really. It'd be the type of content where like making a reaction to it would be perfectly suitable. However, making a catch up on it doesn't really work, and I don't make reaction videos, so that'll have to be somebody else's job. But yeah, I do think that the VR Object Show looks very, very silly in this situation. Then we got Plady, that's from Pivot Animator. Cucumber, that's animated in comics. Stock Image Guy, that's animated in Google Image. Traffic Light, and MS Paint. Clipboard, and IBS Paint, and Yellow Ball, and Scratch, which is it's surprising how similar those look. I guess you can tell, especially Yellow Ball. Yellow Ball and Clipboard, you can barely tell. Good, fair enough to Scratch. A Pencil is animated in Unity. Maple Leaf, which is a great little design, I actually like that one a lot, is animated in Whiteboard. Apple, is animated in real life, yes. This Apple, it's I will be honest, an apple is a little bit of a dangerous thing, just saying, because, if you gotta take a new picture of the apple, then, you gotta be kind of worried about it. You can't let the apple rot, you gotta, it's a bit of a dangerous thing. And then Thumbnail is based on YouTube thumbnails, which is interesting. Is it based on YouTube thumbnail? What YouTube thumbnail has the announcer there to the right? I guess, I don't know, maybe they look for it. But either way, those are cast. The challenge is very, very fast. Is to fall off the balance beam here with and then Pencil and Plady end up falling off the balance beam, and then everybody else, it's a vote to eliminate. On average, I do think that this show, that episode is very fast, the challenge is very fast, but it's an excellent idea, to be honest. However, I don't think that this show should be massive, to be honest. I think that, okay, well, this episode is definitely a bit too short, but I think having an episode at the roughly 5-minute range, right, would be probably about suitable for it, because like, yeah, I mean, it's cool. However, at the end of the day, right, if you make an episode too long, the gimmick kind of wears thin. So I would personally probably have the episode be around 5 minutes, and have it be a fun show, like, I think that it's a fun gimmick, so the show should be fun in mainly for it. So that's what I kind of expect. I expect, roughly 5 minutes per episode. We do a challenge for a bit. They use their methods, their art styles to their advantage or disadvantage, right? They collaborate with art styles they agree with and art styles they don't agree with. And in general, like, it's kind of there. It's fast. It's not. It probably shouldn't have too much storyline. It should be, relatively chill, and relatively fun, and just kind of take advantage fully of the art styles and go for it, But overall, it's a great idea, though. It's a great idea, and I see why the masses took note. All right, that is Artistic Showdown. Next thing. Okay, well, next up, not something I was expecting to cover, but fhizzie, or the fellas over at the WBS crew, have decided that it's time to bring back UBS. Yes, that is a surprise. After a solid 2-year hiatus, we have had another episode of UBS. Not exactly sure. To be honest, I never thought I would need to keep the UBS stuff that well in my brain, because, I thought it wasn't that needed. But as a reminder, in the last episode of UBS, we ended up having a chase for the votes themselves, until eventually at the end of the votes, the pink plate ended up getting eliminated, and then Team BZBZ got eliminated after doing pretty poorly. But yeah, let's see if I can get refreshed up on UBS, and let's see how UBS returns after 2 years with UBS 5, Stampy's Last Stand. Go. Okay, so that is episode 5 of UBS, Stampy's Last Stand. So, it's an enjoyable episode. It absolutely is an enjoyable little episode. I enjoyed the gags in it, which there are a lot of them. And in general, there are a lot of things to like about it. However, here's the thing. This does feel quite a bit different to how those UBS episodes in 2024 felt. There is a vibe shift here. Now, there's a vibe shift from the reasoning. Why is there this vibe shift? It's because you can tell from watching this that the goal of the show has changed, right? When UBS was getting made, it was the show, right? It was the show that we were making, so we were trying to do, so when we were trying to do arcs, we were trying to do it there, when we were trying to do, they're trying to have jokes and arcs and introduce characters and develop characters and all that stuff. Like, all of these things we're trying to get done in UBS, right? Which means that overall, it carried itself off as a bit more of a, again, a serious show in the sense, or like, it wasn't necessarily too, it wasn't serious, but, it had more proper moments of, teams actually trying to do a challenge and everything, in the same way that now, in the WBS episodes, there's a lot of gags. However, between the gags, there is genuine attempts at challenges and genuine attempts at things, right? Whereas UBS 5 has a new goal, right? Because this revamped UBS is supposed to be the sideshow, right? UBS has lost its main show status to a WBS, which means that when having it, it tries to give a different a vibe to WBS by making it the more comedic counterpart, right? It tries to make it the less serious counterpart, making the more comedic character and focusing on jokes, on gags, on doing them quickly at a fast pace, and in general having an episode that doesn't take too long, right? It tries to do all of these things. However, these, while all elements of UBS originally, which make it seem right, when you compile it in this package, it feels like a lot jokier, and especially, at least this time with the gags written, a lot louder of an episode, there's a lot of shouting, than the UBS ones felt. Despite the fact the UBS ones had a lot of jokes, this one feels like it's more, the jokes per minute have just increased, right? This is also because there's less minutes, at least, to UBS 4 in that aspect, right? Even though the first batch of episodes were not that long. So, in general, you could tell that, it's trying to achieve a different thing than how it did. And, yeah, I mean, I would guess that this decision is inspired a little bit by, BFDIA, and a little bit by BFDIE, where they arrive as the sort of side seasons to the more serious big production that takes longer. And, yeah, I can understand, and it definitely, and BFDIE, as you can tell by various people doing it, is quite an appealing idea to a lot of people, because you end up being like, oh, hey, I can make the side thing while working on the main thing. That way my audience gets to see the content, and then also, my audience gets to see content in between the time that I have between making the longer production. Isn't this a good idea? Yeah, yes, it is a good idea. However, it's one of those ideas where it's like, well, I mean, you're having a long production time already by making one show. If you're adding a second one, that is not exactly a good news, because that would make it slower, wouldn't it? Because the amount of work that has just been added on is higher. And then you'll go like, okay, yeah, sure, but it's not gonna take priority, right? The big show is still gonna be the one with the main priority. So we'll still work on that mainly. Well, then it's like, okay, well, if the show with the main priority that's already not coming out quick enough, to apparently need this sideshow. However, this sideshow was never on the main priority, so it's going to get made extremely slowly. That just means that at a certain point, this is also going to be really slow to make, and therefore I cannot trust that this show is going to get episodes either with any amount of consistency, because the main show is taking priority and it's taking a while, which means that this show is, on the back burner while the main show is getting made. You see the problem? There's a lot of general timing things where it's like, I mean, I don't know if it really is a great idea, It's just kind of the thing. At the end of the day, this is not my thing to judge, because I don't know, right? I don't know this, how the scheduling is over there, how the time goes over there, how all of that stuff's going, right? I don't know any of it. However, from afar, it looks like a mildly questionable decision, in the same way that, for example, that BFDI split was a questionable decision back when it originally happened, right? BFB splits into Teapot. Bro, y'all couldn't even get BFB episodes out in quick time, and you're telling me you're splitting into two shows and you're getting episodes out? Yeah, they didn't. Teapot's still happening. BFB ended 5 years ago. You see the problem? Right? In general, those are a kind of like a situation where one usually gets left in the dust, anyways, when you do this, right? And again, BFDIE works because they're not making episodes weekly. If they were actually making BFDIE episodes weekly, then the production of anything else they're making would halt completely. Just they make it on the total side, only release it when it's already, right? All of that stuff. But, yeah, overall, I like it. It's difficult to say. In general, I'm not talking much about the episode because, in general, it's gags. We end up having The eliminated contestant be none other than a tomato packet. Don't remember what they did in UBS for. Gonna be straight up. The intro's here. I like this intro, man. This intro is a good intro. The WS intro is really similar. I low-key might prefer the UBS one. I'm sorry. And then we end up heading ourselves into the challenge, is to pop off the core from your team's bottle. First of all, hold on, Sunflower, how are you here? Where are you in the hole? Are you not supposed to be in the hole? How are you here? I don't know, but you're here, and the challenge is to pop off your team's cork from your team's bottle. This is very vaguely similar to the challenge from the latest episode of AS4, alright? However, it's technically different, because you have to get the cork out rather than necessarily do too much. The contestants use, various tactics. A lot of them are quite distracted by doing it. I like chalk drilling and then the vigorous wiping from the sponge. Yep, that is how a professional cleaner would clean. Then they ended up having thermometer managed to get it out. For some reason, it was really easy for them. Stampy wants their team back. They don't get it. Sunflower, who's now in the hole again. I don't know. They just took a trip out. All right. Tried to eat the fig. The dandelion. My insides liquefy. Hold on. Okay. But then in the post-credit scene, it shows them. Oh, wait a minute. What is the writing of this? Hold on. Because then, wait. Where is Dandelion? What is this character doing? So they're outside. So they're in the hole with their team. Then they're outside of the hole to do the gag. Then they're back in the hole and they're like, "Ooh, do I want to eat it?" And then they're telling no. But then they eat it and they go, "Oh, inside liquefying." Okay. And then in the post-credit scene, they're looking at the mushroom like they want to eat it. But then that means you didn't eat it originally. So what the hell was that gag about? What? Dandelion? Are you good? What are you? What? Huh? That does not make sense. Does it? Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something. But I don't know it. Okay, well, that's weird. That is very weird. We end up having the tire eventually decide to take the newspaper and use them to eventually pop down the cork. I'm sorry, there is no way in the universe that this tire is less heavy than this newspaper. So that means that this newspaper getting used also to bring down the cork is completely useless. There's some mild writing faults. I don't know if this is correct. Some of his stuff's looking a bit weird, but eventually we end up having Stampy just steal off Nearly from one of the winning teams. To be fair, they did already win, and break the glass instead, which seems to be a functional way. I guess they did get the cork off the glass by making sure there's no more glass. In the meantime, the other team ends up failing by just believing that Disc is goated because they did something goofy. They did nothing, and everybody is clamoring them for doing it. It's the classic gag. And then they're up for elimination. Who should get out? Obviously Disc, right? I mean, yes, it is everybody else's fault in 100% in turn because they just randomly pile on and be like, "Yeah, yo, they go. You're like loser from B&B." But then it's like, no, Disc should get out for wasting the entire time thinking, going, and then doing nothing. So yeah, they should get out, but we'll see who actually gets out. Maybe it'll be the fella for being evil. But yeah, overall, it's an enjoyable episode. Gags are good. Not sure if this writing is making sense chronologically, but overall, it's solid. The vibe is different, and I'm not 100% confident in this idea of getting UBS out. However, yeah, and also go support the Patreon. If I remember, I'll put a link down there in the description for the James Patreon. However, it's I always upload these videos at like 2 in the morning and I never remember anything. So but yeah, make sure to support if you're there. But for the meantime, next thing. Next up, we are going over to RayAdventures' channel because the teased new show from them has released after a bit of a wait. It is titled the TWT, which I believe stands for The Wacky Toy Box. Released 4 days ago. The episode is titled Disaster Dish. I don't really know what is to expect. The last time I saw a RayAdventures show, it was non-competition, so we'll see what exactly this is all about. Here we go. Whew, that is episode 1 of TWT, or The Wacky Toy Box. Now, watching RayAdventure shows is an experience, I must admit. It somehow makes you feel like you've just, ran a marathon. In 6 minutes. It's so fast paced, dude. It is probably it has to be. It's just the most chaotic show I've ever seen. It's just you could see the tidbits of this in the Halloween show, right? However, the Halloween show was non-competition, so you put it in a competition environment. It's holy, and it does have a plot arc. It's so much chaos, man. I genuinely get stun locked immediately after watching it. It always take a minute before starting to record. It's whoa. Give me a moment. There hasn't been enough time to process the information. It just goes by so fast. Okay, so the plot arc roughly goes. It seems like Katie, as far as we don't have the name out, but the description says it. So Katie is a girl, a human, who has seemingly dropped a new toy into the toy box, and then kind of like Toy Story, they do not know that the toys in the toy box are alive. This is not knowledge that is known. So then this star fella, I don't even know who this is, ends up being alive and asking everybody to join their competition show. Everybody agrees, I guess, because there's not exactly much that they can really do there. They're trapped in a box. So, they proceed to get everybody joined. They get an epic cake, and then therefore we end up having the challenge, which is, after the team picking gets done, we end up having Team then Team Girls, and then finally Team Scrubby's World, and then the challenge ends up being to cook them something. Whichever meal our host thinks is best ends up going over to win the challenge. So they proceed to cook with very, very, very chaos. I'm telling you the list of events. There's about 7 things that happen at the same time. It is so much stuff. It's to the point, right, where it's very difficult to say, because part of me does want to say that it's too fast, but at the same time, it is partially the charm about it. Right? It is partially the charm about it, and it gives off, a vibe that's completely unique because of just this chaos. However, it's one of those things where it gives a vibe that's completely unique. However, a show that's like this, I think, to a lot of people, is very off-putting. Because, it does not hold back, and it does not give you breathing room, and it does not give you time. Right, that's kind of the thing about it. The main negative with a show that's this chaotic is that it doesn't give you time. It just, things happening, blink and you miss it. Right, and it's sort of, it will put a lot of people off. However, I think it's a unique vibe, and I can't really judge this show for doing its own thing, right? I think that this show's doing its own thing, and it can continue doing its own thing. The people who like it are gonna like it. And overall it's pretty solid. So one team decides to make spaghetti because why not? Then another team ends up deciding to cook a Ray. Yeah, a Ray. Yes, they'll somehow get a recipe to cook a Ray. And then we end up having the next team, which ends up cooking a chocolate cake. As they decide to, they happen to have a chocolate fella there. Somehow, how are you there? That's not a toy. I must admit, did we just accidentally drop by like a chocolate bar in the toy box? Like how, Katie, what are you doing? Katie, you gotta clean up now, will you? What are you doing? How will Katie think when the chocolate bar randomly turns into a cake next time they open the toy box? But yeah, they end up making the foods to varying degrees of success. Time's up. Let's rate them. So the first one is the Ray. They've somehow made just a plush of Ray. Ray is both the Sonic character and also, of course, the name of the creator and their mascot. Which they sort of inherit Ray, and they proceed to eat it. It's not very good because it is a plush. Yes. That is logic. Yes, correct. Then the next one is the girls who end up making the chocolate cake. The chocolate cake happens to taste like a dead body, which is intriguing. This implies that dead bodies all taste the same. Despite this, like every object, if you're dead body, tastes the same. All right, fair enough. I do think that is kind of, it's interesting, but at the same time, very dark that chocolate cake, it does have a face, even down there in the oven. It's like, hold on, you're telling me that, like, they keep consciousness when getting baked? That is that. But yeah, and then finally the spaghetti is pretty solid. So they win, except they don't win because the barrel proceeds to throw it off by saying how they made the sauce. Which, is that even how you made the sauce? I don't know if that's how, you might just be lying. And then they proceed to lose. The crown gets very upset at this, of course. The crown is just getting, it's so over. And they end up going all the way from winning to losing. It might be one of the greatest throws in Object Show history. Who's getting out? Barrel, presumably, because of course they are annoying and also through the challenge. There are some people which just didn't do anything. Jackie didn't do anything. Crafty, I literally didn't see. Or no way. You're not a character. Where were you? However, Barrow's probably got to go, right? I mean, it's their fault they lost, so fair enough. They should just stay silent. So then the girls end up being safe. For a minute, I low-key thought that the girls were also going to say something really stupid and get up for elimination, and then the team with the freaking plush ended up losing, but oh well. Then we have the wrap up. We have an interesting image there at the end of it, because this shows a lot of characters which are not in the show. So we get to see Katie plus somebody else which you don't recognize, and then there's so many characters in this toy box that we have not seen. Like Keys, like a peppermint. There's like a dice. Like, these are not characters that we have seen in this episode. So that's an intriguing screenshot, and that is also TWT1. Whew. I'll be honest, I'm gonna need to train to be able to like properly keep up with this show, because it is a difficult one to keep up with. Its vibe is just so high paced, and it's an energy that I don't quite possess by default. But like, we're gonna work on getting there. It's nice though. It's very unique. And in general, I think that it's relatively solid. And I think I said this last time we talked about RayAdventures. If this is the pacing of the animated shows, what is the pacing of the plush shows? These poor plushes, they're probably getting thrown against the wall every episode. But yeah, overall, that is TWT1. It's fun, it's unique, it's a very unique pacing, especially. Might turn some people off, which is unfortunate because just how fast paced it is. But every other detail, I would say, is relatively solid. Animation is relatively clean. Audio, there's a lot of stacked audio because of it. So again, it matches the vibe. And then, yeah. Everything's alright. The setting is also sort of unique, even though we've seen, I guess, stuff like it in like Foul D2B, but in general, it's relatively nice in terms of setting. It's nice in terms of vibe. It's unique, and yeah, I would say it comes with its ups, it comes with its downs, and you just gotta decide if you like it. Next thing. Next up, we are going over to Mark Bommy's channel because episode 6 of the Cooler Object Show has released. As a reminder, the Cooler Object Show is the cancelled, then returned the second season of the Cool Object Show. Last time it was a little Christmas special where we ended up having the challenge to if I'm not mistaken, to get the best gift for a foreign fella or something. And then we ended up having one of the teams be up for elimination. Get the best hit for the host. And then, two teams ended up being up for elimination while Explosion Sounds won. So, alright. Let's go to episode 6, which is titled The Worst Day of Bumpy's Life. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 6 of the Cooler Object Show. So, we host ourselves an elimination where the eliminated contestant ends up being Cooler Racer after a round 2 voting on a poll, which I must admit, after a tie, is not something that I have seen done. I think people usually don't tend to do a revote between only 2 people because, that spoils it, right, for the episode. That spoils that nobody else gets out, so it kind of okay. There won't be as much suspense anymore for the episodes, I get it, but, in this case, especially since the 3-way tie, makes sense. Cool Racer is out, and then we have some new teams. We have Team Blank, which is comprised of Bumpy, the Rainbow Fella, the Pie Jr., and then whatever how the blob was called. And then the other team is titled Team Them, and they're the Glitch Block, the Missing Texture, Sans, the Egg Fella, the Among Us crewmate, and then the 4 Fella, which I swear this is a new design. I do not. What did you look like? It was not this. Am I going crazy? I swear it looked different. But, they end up having the challenge, which is to like your team. Interesting challenge. Yes, apparently our host here has mind-reading capabilities. They will read the minds and see which team likes each other more. The team which likes each other more will win. So you're supposed to get along. The teams have a relatively bad way of doing this. However, I mean, at least I have a pretty smart idea of forming an alliance, which means that the bond is super strong, and therefore you're going to win the challenge on one team. So that's a good stuff there from Team Blank. However, unfortunately, Sans had an immunity ticket, and they decide to use it on their whole team, which means the Team Blank ends up losing anyways, despite the fact that they won. Unfortunate, but to be fair, the challenge was kind of bullshit. Who should get out? Probably the fella who named the team, the yellow fella, which I don't... Are you called Bumpy? You're called Bumpy, yeah. Bumpy should probably get out because they named the team Team Blank. They didn't say anything. They're looking kind of condescending when somebody tries to call them out on it. And in general, they're the reason why the team had any negativity about it in the first place, because everybody else gets along. So I would absolutely eliminate them, but we'll see if anybody else gets out. In the meantime, we're in the yellow elimination area. A YouTube logo finds a rare house by the Red Stickman themselves, so we'll see what's going on with that. But yeah, overall, it's a relatively solid episode. The challenges are definitely still a bit kind of like... okay, I mean, it's not that this challenge is bad, it's just that there's no way for the teams to do the challenge, right? Like, it's hard to meta game liking. Like, what are they going to do? I will like you now. Focus is really hard. Like, it doesn't really work, right? So there's kind of not much that the team could do about this challenge, right? But, yeah, overall it's solid. Voice acting is getting clearer and clearer in terms of the microphone. There is not that much music, but when it's there, it's quieter, which is nice. And the overall audio is getting some good improvements overall. Even though the Cooler Object Show always was the one with the better audio. So, yeah. Alright, that is that. Next thing. Next up, we are going over to the TDOliver channel because we are taking a quick trip back to another 20-secondly object show episode. Last time I showed up, which is kind of weird, and I hosted a challenge. I declared that Pepper Chip had the best smile, and then the host came back after the weird trip out of town. Time for episode 6, which is titled Be Old Fashioned. Go! Alright, well, cool animation, isn't it? That is actually really smooth. That's really nice. It has this kind of old school vibe to it from the 4x3, and the kind of like picturesque way that it is. It's a little bit sort of browned out. It's not like a full white paper, so It's actually really nice. It's proper like stop motion feeling, which is crazy. I'm not exactly sure how this is even animated. Is this a animation program? It looks very IRL, but I don't know. Is that possible? That would take so long. That's crazy. Curiosity wins after being able to break the beehive. What's the challenge? They're get attacked by bees, however, so everything arrives with the consequences and be up for elimination. Who do I eliminate? I don't know. Well, Pepper Chip didn't have the best smile. Maybe dude, this emerald's gotta go, bro. This emerald does nothing. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Overall, very cool. Good job to the animator on this. No idea how you did it, but it looks super swagger. Alright, next thing. Next up, we are going over to Kuya's channel because KuyaR has dropped episode 31 of Battle for Magical Hotel. Wait, yeah, that's what it's called, right? Madoka, but yeah, Magical, yeah. Last time, we had the challenge to protect the Mona Lisa by tossing it around a lot. And then eventually, our debutante, which was Rumia as well as this blue fella, which I don't quite remember the name of, ended up being safe, and everybody else is up for elimination. Let's see who gets out as we're getting closer to the finale. Starting from the past to the present. Here we go. Alright, that is BFMH 31, and we are getting there. We really are. It's the final challenge, at least I believe, of the show properly, which is pretty cool because of course we're doing the classic, do all of the previous challenges as a proper trip down memory lane. And you know what? It's nice to see some shows actually near completion, because at the end of the day, BFMH is a journey, right? It's a journey that, yes, I have had a lot of criticisms of. However, in general, it's been over 2 years of making these little episodes, having fun with them, and in general, it's nice to see the journey nearing its completion. But first, an elimination. Before that, all of the previous hosts have decided to do a song and dance. And as they do the song and dance, we're having the elimination time hosted by some replacement hosts for a reason we soon will find out. The substitute host proceeds to do the elimination where Sayaka ends up getting officially eliminated, leaving only 4. So the challenge is to do all the previous contests, as I previously said. That's fine. I think it's a good challenge, so fair enough. And they proceed to go over. If you die, you have to start over again, and we end up doing that. And it turns out that the hosts are all along the path to help you. Which is fair enough. Now, I do really like the usage of X's lines to sort of make it work within the show. I think that's actually rather cool. And I honestly do not mind how X is animated, at all. I think that X is animated. It's kind of interesting with the outlines in different sizes, right? And honestly, it'd be interesting to see a show sometime from Kuya that tries to not have any PNG characters. I think that would be interesting to actually witness, because I didn't mind a bunch of that. Like, I thought Teardrop's expression was pretty alright. That's why it was one of my favorites. And to seeing X here, I mean, it looks pretty solid. It'd be interesting to see. I don't think it's a plan. Especially because, like, Kuya doesn't really seem to do much character creation, right? Like, these are all borrowed characters. There don't seem to be many characters that are, you know, purely original. However, I'd be interested to see it. You know, I would think that, you know, trying to maybe create some of your own characters and maybe, you know, getting some animation, not using PNGs anymore, would be an interesting possibility, you know, for evolution, if it's possible. I don't think it's a plan, however, I would be interested to see it. I think it could turn out pretty well. Anyways, they proceed to take the turn, and eventually, after some fellas die, we end up having our fella, which is I still forgot your name. What was your name? You're called, God, Reimu? Reimu is the name that sprung up to mind. No, Reimu is the freaking host. That one host. Fuck. What was your name? Cerno. Yes, you're called Cerno. I remembered. Don't false alarm. I remembered. I'm sorry. I am not keeping these characters' names in mind because, of course, I've not watched any of the shows they originate from. All right, but yeah, Cerno eventually manages to not only pick up a lead, but eventually do that. Well, the other contestants, you know, they managed to keep track, you know, they managed to catch up. However, Cerno does manage to, you know, pick up a relatively strong lead, and then eventually, you know, never lets go of it too much, you know, kind of stays always a bit ahead of the pack compared to the others, even when they do catch up. So, after they manage to win by protecting the Mona Lisa, lashing onto it, they win, and it's relatively deserved. So the other three are up for elimination. So that would be Rumia, Momoko, and Nemu. Who should get eliminated? I think out of these three, I would probably eliminate Nemu. I think that they've done the least out of them. However, as usual, you know, it kind of depends on what your perception of the characters outside of the show as well is. And of course, yeah, but looking at it purely on the show, I think that keeping Rumia would be fine, considering, you know, it's interesting to have a debutant, and also there does seem to be that connection with Cerno there that can make for an interesting you know, bond. And then also I think Momoko is just an interesting in between, not getting too much in the fuss but still doing challenges. So I would say that I would eliminate them, but we'll see you know what the audiences shall decide. And yeah, that is BFMH. Since it's the final contest, we're guessing that we end up having ourselves a that we end up having the last episode be a filler episode, heading ourselves into a vote to win. That's what I would guess, right? We're heading into the vote to win into the final episode, because it can't be a challenge in the final episode, because this was the final challenge, right? So I don't know, we're gonna need to see, I guess, but it'll be intriguing to see. At the last moment, we end up giving Cerno an award, a gratitude token. Dude, will these tokens do anything? I kind of hope they do, you know, in like a weird way. I think if they did, that'd be interesting, you know, maybe dropping in some votes. Maybe dropping in some votes. What if, like, the gratitude tokens that you have earned translate to a vote, you know, or something? Like, that'd be kind of intriguing, no? But, I don't know. We'll keep that out. BFMH is soon to end. That's kind of fun. Other seasons, of course, still ongoing. I don't know if I'll watch them. I'll think about it when BFMH ends, because, of course, there are the seasons after BFMH. For now, that's all. Next thing. Okay, next up we are going over to Tennistan's channel because we have ourselves what I believe to be a reboot of BFPIG, or Battle for Paradise Isle, Paradise Isle Getaway, yeah. It seems to have gotten itself a relaunch, which is interesting because we've got an episode 1 again. However, it's an episode 1 that's longer than the first episode. So let's see how much has actually changed from it by going over to that. Going over one. There you go. So here we go. So there it is, the BFPIG relaunch. I mean, it's similar. It does feel a bit improved. One of the things which I will say is the most impressive, of course, this is a show with like 1 billion characters, only 3 minutes per episode, so it is having it complicated. But it does manage to get a lot done in these 30 minutes. I'm actually rather impressed with it. Especially this challenge. I'm very impressed with this challenge. It actually manages to include majority of the teams in it properly. With very little time for it to actually work, by either having to dodge the dagger, rethrow the dagger, anything, and it just keeps the teams relatively prevalent in there, well beyond, of course, a lot of them name their teams. So overall, I mean, I think that it's relatively solid. And it did pretty good. Now, one of the main critiques which I still would have with this is that this is too many people to be up for elimination. It just is. You vote one for each team, but it's too many people, right? Like, you cannot, the votes are not going to mean anything when this many people you have to choose from. Because you're just not going to put enough thought into any individual team's choice because there's just so many, right? How do you solve this? You have to do challenges in the inverse way, right? Where, like, for example, this challenge, right? Hit somebody with a dagger, right? For example, the challenge should be, it will be better, right? If the challenge, instead of being, if you you hit somebody with a dagger and then you get to choose who's safe, alright? It should instead be get hit by a dagger and you're up for elimination. That's how that should work. You know? Because that way only we base it on the failure rather than success. Because with the success, that would make a challenge really slow, right? Because you would need to have everybody succeed. And that is not fair, right? However, setting it by failure means that only one team has to fail, and then they're the ones up for elim, right? And for these kind of super large castings, with not a lot of time, it just has to be like that. It has to be the type of thing where you choose somebody to put up for elimination rather than choosing somebody to be safe based on the perimeters of the challenge, basically what I'm saying, right? So yeah, that's absolutely my recommendation. Too many people up for elim, just need to get one team up for elimination and have the team who fails be up for elimination, right? I would say is my main tips and tricks. But overall, yeah, we have the team naming. It's also doing a little bit of the thing where it starts to form team names. Like, we get team name forming that makes sense for 4 teams, and it's relatively cool. And then we realize, shit, this is too many teams to do it. So then 4 teams just skip it out, and then it kind of looks biased, right? Like, hold on, I think you gotta commit, you know? Like, I think that it's like, alright, look, you're showing each team and how they're naming their team. You gotta commit. You know, I can't just do 4 teams and the other 4 teams. Oh, it doesn't matter. Use the name. No, I want to know. Why is that team called Easiest Mini Games? Why is they called that? You know, I need to know. This is knowledge. But, oh well, it goes how it goes. That is BFPIG 1. I do believe it's an improvement, and I thought our challenge was very impressive in terms of showcasing the characters, despite, of course, there being so many. I hope that it continues along this line, with the suggestions that I suggested, and in general, that is that. Next thing. Alright, it's time for the last thing that we have to cover, and then we will be good. Yes, we will actually be good for the keep ups. We will have covered every keep up except from skipped creators. Yes, I know it's a bit weird to do that. However, trust me, we would be here until 1 million years if I covered the shows which I skipped. I do plan to get them eventually, but they're way on the back burner, right? Alright. While I was recording this, episode 1 of a series from Blue released, which is kind of interesting. It is titled BVCAOES. No idea what that stands for. We're gonna find out. The episode is titled Happiness. Is 2 minutes long. I don't know what I'm expecting here because I didn't know this thing was a thing. Let's go. Let's watch it. Let's see what it is. What it is that it is about. Alright, well, that is one of the shows of all time. And so Blue is there in their natural habitat outside of the profile picture to host what is titled Blue's Very Cool and Epic Object Show. Now, is that correct with the acronym? No, the acronym is wrong. That's great. Love to see that. But we have our contestants. We have a pro, which is a green Skittle, but you can't call him that. We have Chris, who likes chicken nuggets. Fair enough. We have an ornament. We have a lighter, who loves strawberries. We have like a... What is that? Like a cherry that likes Jay and Zachary. And then that's the cast, the excellent cast. The challenge is to make the Blue happy. They do various tactics, such as giving them burger, and it kind of works, but it's alright. Until eventually we get Crazy's performance. What is this bro singing? I don't know what it is, but like it's, you know what? I mean, like, sure, you know. Like it's a pretty cool performance, and it's the one time where the opening closing mouth is fair. So you know, fair enough. Everybody else up for Elam, who should get out? I don't know, probably pro because they tried to troll, I guess. I don't really know, but overall, this show is fine. I mean, it's a little shitposty show. Like, you know, there's not much to take seriously here, in the sense of, like, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and say suboptimal pacing or whatever, which isn't even true. But, like, you know, it's just because it's a silly little show that takes about 2 minutes per episode. There's not much to it, but in general, it does the gags which it wants to do. I would say that they're relatively enjoyable. It's relatively simple. It is interesting to actually see, however, a Blue show that, you know, is not bound by the confines of flags, because I do think the confines of flags are very interesting. It is interesting to see characters outside of that range as well, and yeah, I think it's intriguing to see, and it shows off a little bit of, you know, what could be if Blue ever wants to make a regular object show. But yeah, overall, I would say that, yeah, I would agree. However, I would say that the performance did also make me the happiest. So yeah, I would say deserved victory. Blue it's good host so far. You know, looking like a pretty normal host, and yeah, that is the very cool and object epic show, I guess, from the acronym. That is all. Fun little thing. Let's do an outro. Alright, and that will be all for today's episode of Object Catchup. Now, it turned out that the BFDIE released very early today, even earlier than I think was expected. But yeah, I didn't change plans because I really wanted to just take this day to proper catch up on the keep-ups, you know, because I've been 2 weeks behind for so long that it's like, okay, let's finally get this, especially as the last week didn't have too many releases. Now, I know that it's going to be quite a lot of big stuff that I will watch next, but I will kind of have to see properly. I'm not going to give direct words. I'm going to kind of try to plan myself out before doing it, but Basically, what I'm trying to say is that, shows my occupied time, which means that there wouldn't be one of these types of keep episodes in a while. There's the possibility of that, which would keep the danger, of course, of it getting too congested again, or getting unsavably congested if I were to not fully focus in this time. And thankfully, the perfect amount of videos I had left, because it makes for a very regular length catch up. So, yeah, overall, I would say that that was a successful day. We did all that we did all that I wanted, and we're all caught up. We're all happy days. We got to BFDIE tomorrow. We had to do all other stuff as shows are going to be releasing, things are going to be doing. But for now, for me, for the shows that we watched today, we are all caught up. See you next time. Goodbye.